You are now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network. We are live, and live we are. I'm Travis Terrell.
I'm Chris Denman.
I'm Ian Bagg.
And you're tuned in.
And that's it.
To We Are National Bag Radio. No. You're tuned into We Are Live as we record here from One Shock City Studios here in lovely St. Louis, Missouri.
Shock City!
That was good.
Ooh.
That was solid. You heard those sultry voices. That, of course, was indeed a different Chris Denman, a.k.a. Carly Lawrence, and a different Ian Bagg, a.k.a. one Michael Gaines. Chris Denman not in studio today. He got his back blown out. That's right. The sexual escapades of one Chris Denman finally caught up to him. He tried to maneuver, tried to Euro step in the bedroom, and it did not work out well. You didn't know you could Euro step in the bedroom, did you, Gaines?
I did not. I don't know what that looks like.
You can go full Ginobili when you in it, if you know what I mean.
Does the defender kind of like go the other way then?
Absolutely.
Like, so what?
That's how you can mess your back up, bro.
Oh.
Yeah, think about it. Think about it. Next
It
time.
doesn't sound that, rewarding, I wouldn't think.
Have you tried it?
No.
Then there you go. You
Admittedly have not.
So I would suggest that today, when you folks are with your significant others, pop in a YouTube video of one Manu Ginobili of the San Antonio Spurs, one of the best Euro steppers in NBA history. Watch that move and try to mimic said move in the bedroom with your significant other, and let me know how that pays off.
Is that appropriation?
Probably. But
Euro
it's for
step?
sex, so it doesn't matter.
No, but like what the American basketball players, like since they do the Euro step all the time.
I think considering that everything else in regards to the game of basketball was appropriated from America and African-American ball players, I think stealing the Euro
Hey,
step
the whites
is
did it
fine.
first, Travis.
You guys did kick it off.
A lot of chest passes,
Tons.
chest over the knees,
That was that
thumbs
too.
down.
Mm-hmm.
Two hands on the chest pass. Good shooting form. Layups.
Mm-hmm.
Don't dunk the ball.
Isn't that funny, though, how, and this may have been done advertently or inadvertently, how the game has evolved when African-American players found new ways to take advantage of the rules inside the sport. So, like, hey, you shoot it inside a basket. Well, I'm going to dunk it. Okay, well, you gotta have assists and passes. Well, I'm gonna come up with the alley-oop. Yeah, we're gonna have a 3-point line. Well, we're gonna shoot that too.
Yeah, the whites might be better at the 3-point.
Steph Curry's gonna have something to say about that when it's all said and done.
He's
what?
He's not really a brother.
He's a brother.
Come on.
He's a brother. Trust me, as long as you still have a wave cap, you're a brother. Those are kind of the guidelines for being a brother.
What's a wave cap?
A wave cap is basically a nylon knitting.
Is it a do-rag?
It's a do-rag.
Oh my gosh, when
Yes.
I was a kid, I asked my mom, we were at Sally Beauty Supply and they had do-rags. And I asked her if she could buy me one. Of course she bought me one because my mom doesn't see color. And so I bought a white do-rag and had everyone at school sign it. And then I just wore it around school when I was in grade school.
This is the most fascinating Carly Lawrence story. Look, we've known Carly for almost a year now, and this is one of the more fascinating stories we've heard in regards to your childhood. That's Carly walking around school. This was in rural Illinois?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah.
So in
Right
rural
across the river.
Illinois,
They're like,
Lawrence, this
Carly,
little
you can't wear
brunette.
hats in school. I'm like, this is just a really thick headband. with little strings that dangle in the back.
So there are photos at some point. I'm going to reach out to Papa Lawrence to see if I can get a couple of pictures of you in a wave cap. And this was in elementary school?
Oh, yeah. Grade school. I can't believe my mom actually.
This is awesome. That is awesome. That is hilarious.
Awesome.
That is pretty damn awesome. I think though.
We'll get matching wear. Let's get matching wear.
Don't you, boy? Oh,
don't tell Dad.
I'm about to say, don't tell Dad. Don't tell Chris.
We'll sell him at
You
the
need
next
to do something
target
with that.
practice. Doesn't your dad wear a do-rag?
Yes.
Didn't he wear one when we met him?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was wearing one in Memphis.
I was wearing one in Memphis.
Was it a do-rag or was it like a skull cap though?
I think it was a do-rag. That was hella dewy.
It was a cap of some sort. My dad is.
He's good looking.
He's a hip kid. My dad's a
You
hip.
wonder what happened to Travis.
Yeah, a lot of people ask that question, and I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to have a twitch about it. But no, my dad is he's I wouldn't even call it a midlife crisis. It's not even a crisis. It's just my dad was a college athlete and. He played the sports.
He did
as
sports.
well. He did the sports
athletics.
as well, Gates. And
Like you.
he was like one of those guys that's just like, I'm not going out because he really wanted to make the league. He had a cup of tea with the St. Louis Cardinals, and so the football team, St. Louis Cardinals, and so he really didn't get a chance to explore college, and so he decided, well, I've had 5 kids and I've got my doctorate. I'm a dean at a major university. I want to kick it. And so every time I pick up the phone, I call my dad. He's like, oh, sorry, I'm at Turks and Caicos. I'll talk to you later. It's like, it's Tuesday. What are you doing? Why are you there?
Phyllis from The Office was a cheerleader for the St. Louis Cardinals.
She was. So
Just a fun fact.
I think
Your dad's still hot, though.
he's kicking it. He's out there enjoying life. And I hope one day to also enjoy it with them. I've told people this before, and people are familiar with this. I went on vacation with my dad for about a week. We went on a cruise a summer ago, and I could not keep my father. Like, I'm kidding you not. Like, I was like 3:30. I was like, all right, I gotta go to bed. My dad's like, fool, you crazy?
Wow.
I'm like, they about to have a rap battle down here at the end of the ship. I'm gonna go check that out. I was like, it's almost 4 a.m. And so I'm hoping in 20 years I have that energy. I don't know how I tell you what, I think old people get a second win after 50. Like, and they're just not, they're keeping it to themselves. Like, they like to sit around and go, oh no, I ain't got nothing to do. No, people who are 50 in America are kicking it, and I want to know where.
They are kicking it.
Shuffleboard courts.
And they're so good at that. Dude, like,
It's because they're not strong enough to push it past the 10 off.
But when do you start picking up the old people's sports? Am I at that point now? So you
I've
guys are
done
much
that.
younger than me. So am I going to start picking up shuffleboard here in the next few years and just
Well, you're
not
not
know
good
it?
at sports though. So like,
So that's what's going to naturally happen. I'm not going to be good at the sports. I'm going to be like, well, the shuffleboard thing is sort of like bowling.
it's dope. I play in a tournament every year at the end of July.
You are so
In
Italian.
shuffleboard?
It's
Yeah,
stupid.
because it's for the vacation that I go down to Chris's neck of the woods.
That is fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. You know what also is fascinating? I think the word. That's pretty damn fascinating. Oh, hello.
Let's take a stroll down this lane.
I'm down for strolling. You've stepped into the word.
Travis, what's your word?
Yeah,
Damn it,
Travis
son of
goes
a-
first.
Sad
Sad.
because
Oh.
my man partner, Chris Denman, is not here.
Wow.
It's maybe the first.
Carly, we're making him sad.
No, it's not you guys.
Yeah.
It's not you guys.
No,
it's
yeah.
Sorry.
me. It's not, look, he is.
We
he's
can
been-
leave if you'd like.
He's been my partner for many years. And this may be one of the first podcasts we've ever done without him. So I'm sad that Papa Bear isn't
No
here.
rules!
But yeah, when the cat's away, the chipmunks
The
are
other
going to do
cats are
stuff.
gonna play.
And they're going to do stuff.
Did you see
Meow.
that? Did you see that viral video with the chipmunk and the cat? Pretty
What?
funny.
There's a viral video with a chipmunk and a cat on the internet? I'm shocked that those things exist.
Did you see it?
Have you
I
ever
have
looked
not
up?
seen it.
Have you ever Googled what a turtle's dick looks like? Because that's probably crazier looking.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that later in the
The
show as well.
chipmunk jumped on the cat's back after the cat was messing with it, and then the cat, because the cat probably killed chipmunk,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so the chipmunk was just on the cat's back, and the cat couldn't get to it. Very funny.
Well played, Alvin. Well played.
Would you say turtle penis?
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
Look
for
it up.
Christ's
There's
sake.
one of it trying to have sex with a dog toy. That's the best one because you get the best angle.
Turtle penis is
Not that
two
I'm
words,
just
not
assuming.
one. Oh, for the love of Christ, man.
It's insane.
Let me try to.
It looks like someone stepped on an eggplant.
Oh, for the love of horse. Oh,
I
you're
swear.
right.
I told you. I think I
have
showed you
seen-
before.
Yeah, you have shown
I
me
did
before.
show you before.
I was like, is that?
This is my conversation starter at
yeah,
parties.
it's like, is it a tongue coming
No,
out of his?
not
No,
that.
that's a
The video.
penis.
Do the video.
That's a penis. That's his penis,
that it?
right? Why would that not be his
I
penis?
know, but that's not the good one.
I understand that's not the video, but that's his penis.
Yeah, it looks like
How fun
Why
would
is
it
that
be?
its penis?
I don't know.
How fun would it be?
It shouldn't be its
man,
penis.
This is what I was talking about. This is part of the video. That one and that one.
Oh man,
Look at it.
this is what
I
Not
told
a
you. It looked like,
penis.
this is what happened when Dad leaves. This is what happens. Here comes the stepmom trying to step in to try to
gross.
control his
It
kids.
looks like somebody stepped on it.
This is what happened when Dad leaves the house. This
What
is
is
gonna
that?
be so
I
bad.
know, right? I told you.
Now, right now, my friends are really freaking out.
Nature
at
is
the sight
crazy.
Of flat dick turtle dicks.
Carly, what's your word?
Happy. It was gonna be turtle dick, so I had to try to think of
Yeah,
something
I'm
else
about
to
to say,
say.
it's
That's
two
that's
words.
that's all it is on the brain right now.
That's a-
Also
It looks like a
happy
brain.
because I'm with y'all, and also ravenous because Whole30 is happening in my life.
What's Whole30?
It's a
That's our
diet I was
fake
trying
diet.
to. It's that fake diet that I've had to start over every day because I keep losing. I'm on hour 51.
Hour 51.
It's been hard.
Knowing what Carly has had to go through, and we will probably get to at some point for food for thoughts, that these 51 hours probably are seriously grueling.
It's been. This doesn't have anything in it. This coffee's blank. This is some blank coffee.
So Carly's happy. I'm sad.
What's
Gaines.
yours, Gaines?
are
Bread
you?
still?
My word is sad.
Oh, you
Why is
son of a
everybody sad?
mother bitch.
This is bullshit.
For love of man, you man.
I've been with Chris and Travis
Oh,
since about
God, here we
September,
go.
and Chris isn't in today, so I'm sad.
You feel good
My
about
word's
that?
sad.
You feel good about that?
Melancholy is also my word.
You're a son of a bitch.
That word sounds fun, though.
Yeah.
God messed that word up because it sounds fun, but it's not.
It is.
You know what I
would
mean?
think it, but it isn't. That completes today's word. You asshat.
What's the word?
Hey.
Vroom, vroom.
Skirt.
That was the word brought to you by the
Sam.
lovely Sam Mall. Sam
Oh,
Mall.
thanks, Sam.
You can check out
The worst
Sam,
in the business.
and his work. You can check that out, of course, if you're in the area in the city of St. Louis, one of the finest studios in the country, in Shock City Studios.
Shock City.
I can't speak on what took place at Shock City here, but it was
Some cool shit.
some cool shit that took place over the weekend here at Shock City. So just to give you just a bit of an idea, the professionals of the professionals, truly, when they're in the loo and they're doing work, they stop by Shock City. So we are always fortunate to be able to do this lovely podcast.
We're basically rubbing butts with the elite because they sat. The
these-
important people sat in these
these
exact
seats, he's
seats. I'm
right.
sure.
She's very true about that. Very
Rubbing
true. about-
butts.
Yeah, probably in Studio A.
Let me live.
Again, our good friend Chris Denman, he is away. He will be back later this week. We're trying to reach out for a very important special guest for you guys later this week that will be making a quick stop in St. Louis at Helium here in the Lou, and hopefully we're able to lock him down. We think that'll be a special get. If not, you will still hear our lovely voices and Mr. Denman later this week. We just completed another ravenous hour.
Round.
Stealing words again. Troy.
Yeah, that was my
That was a
word.
good word. I just couldn't help myself. I was like, man, Carly's going to use that. She's not going to use ravenous again anyway. So at least I can use it.
We can share.
Another 3 hours.
Use
of
it or lose
amazing-
it. That's what they say.
St. Louis Radio here at St. Louis Live. If you guys want to check additional content and past shows, make sure you go to weareliveradio.com to
Brought to
check
you by
that out.
Turtle Dongs.
It's not specifically by Turtle Dongs, but we can get around to putting Turtle Dongs on the website. Also, join us at Friends of WAL, WAL on Facebook. If you guys want to jump into the silliness that we like to get into online as well, you can follow us at We Are Live Radio also on the tweets, the Twitters, Follow me as well on Black to the Future.
No, don't.
No plugs.
Don't.
Well, Dad's away. I just figured I could. We got a busy show for you guys today. We're going to get
stalling
into
because
it.
you don't have a hypothetical?
No, I have a hypothetical.
Look at that thumb moving.
I'm moving my thumb because it's stretching.
Real quick,
My
though.
thumb is stretching. That's all it's doing right now.
Stretching the show so you can get a hypothetical.
Guys.
See, listen to him.
He's still stretching.
I'm not stretching at all. And when you guys imply
This is what we call stretching in the business, guys.
This is not how one stretches. We have a busy show today. We're going to get into some very interesting topics. We have food for thoughts. Did I mention food for thoughts? Did I mention Chris wasn't in today? Did I tell you guys about that? Did I tell you where you can get and download this show?
Jesus
my gosh.
Christ.
I'm not stalling, though. I don't know why. Why would you imply that I was doing that?
Dad's not mad. He's just really disappointed.
Probably we shouldn't talk for until he.
Why
comes
would
up
you
with this
guys talk?
hypothetical.
That is so rude. I don't understand why you guys would not talk. I'm trying to have a conversation with my good friends. Chris isn't here right now, and so I miss you guys. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You guys are just going to really ignore me?
I'm just waiting for that one segment we do called Hypothetically Speaking.
Well, maybe if I reached out to the heavens and asked, maybe we can get that. Hold on, let me find out. Jesus, are you there?
Hypothetically speaking starts now.
Hi, guys.
Hey,
Happy Wednesday.
you got your shit together?
Man, what a lovely
See,
day
like, why are you laughing? Nothing funny has happened.
He's stretching.
Nothing's funny
I
is
am
happening.
not stretching. You guys are so silly, man. Like, I don't know why you guys would treat me like this, man.
He's still stretching. All right, Travis.
Yes.
Hypothetically,
Yeah.
if you were doing a podcast and someone wasn't prepared for their segment,
Right?
what would you do?
You know, Gaines, that's a great question. And you know, Gaines, you are a man of many great questions. And that's why I'm happy you are a part of our team, because you provide some of the best questions that anyone could possibly ask. And that's why I appreciate what you bring to the table. Hey, Gaines. Hey, Carly.
Hey, Travis.
What?
You guys ready to get started with hypothetically?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
If you were a superhero, which of your friends would you pick as your sidekick? And what would your respective powers be?
Didn't we do this?
No.
Oh, I
this is
remember
a different
talking
one.
about my
we
superpowers.
did do superpower one.
But what would be,
Oh.
who would be your sidekick?
So, you know.
And what would be the power of your sidekick?
Gaines, because he's losing weight. He looks like he could run faster than he used to be able to run.
Oh, nice.
And his superpower. What do you want your superpower to be, Gaines?
Change into anything that I can do, whatever thing, person, place. What
So
is
you
that?
would be-
Transformer?
Transfiguration.
You would be a shapeshifter.
Shapeshifter. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
Ooh, that's Illuminati of you. I'd be able to fit as many hot dogs in my mouth as possible.
Oh, sweet Moses of Christ.
So I can win hot
That's a
dog
visual
competitions
for the
and make
listeners.
some money and then buy my dad a new house with my hot dog eating contest money.
I think we're going to get at least an additional 45 to 50 downloads off that comment.
I gotta
alone.
give people what they want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Visuals.
I feel you.
Make sure you put that in the description when we send this out later today.
We'll do that.
Hot dogs.
So Bruno Mars and I are close friends.
Of course. Naturally. I
He would
expect you
be
guys to
my
be.
sidekick. He's a good size for sidekicks. His power would be like when he sings, and he already does a little bit of this, but it'd be like an official sanctioned superhero power. When he sings, it would hypnotize people and they would like fall asleep. So like, you know, that comes in handy when like the security guard, he would sing and then hypnotize, then we go rob all the jewels.
That's what one of the Pokemons do.
That's generally how
I think that's what
Pokemons work.
that's Jigglypuff's power.
That is
He
what
does.
his
He
power
sings. And then
is. So you want the
I
singing.
fucks with Pokemon hella hard.
And that's kind of dope to be able to sing and do whatever the hell you want.
and then I would shapeshift into whatever. Could we be super villains though?
Ooh.
I would rather be a super villain than a superhero.
So if you're a super villain, what would be your thing? What would be your shtick?
steal ancient artifacts. I feel like a lot of supervillains like to steal ancient artifacts.
What's a specific artifact of the ancient nature that you would steal?
A pyramid?
The whole pyramid?
Just a pyramid.
A pyramid?
I feel like you just
A
discovered Despicable Me, and now you're coming Gru.
Oh, they do steal pyramid because it's blown up, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a balloon.
Well, we have a sponsorship deal with Despicable Me 3.
Oh, do we
and
now?
Steve Carell.
This is interesting.
So it's coming to theaters
This is
near
nice.
you.
Can I have that one?
I'm
'Cause
about
I
to
don't
say
have
that
any
is a
yet.
fascinating sponsorship that would be very
Steve
profitable.
Carell specifically asked for it.
Well, again, fascinating.
Yeah, he meets his evil twin.
Gaines would be
It's
Gru.
great.
That's so nice of you. And
He
he would
steals-
steal artifacts.
Yeah, and I would steal some maps. Maps seem to be important
Right.
in some films. I would steal some books. But I would immediately sell all this stuff. Like I feel like the supervillains keep it in their basement, which seems
It
stupid.
is kind of dumb.
Like, oh, you stole it. How are you making money off this thing? So I would sell it.
I like it. Speaking of friends, I don't speak of them a lot. Barack Obama would obviously be my sidekick. We go back.
That's silly.
We were in a rap group in the 90s called Wu-Tang. Ever heard of them? And
They're new, right?
They're up and coming, certainly from Canada. And so he would be my sidekick. His superpower would be he has a great voice.
He can't sing. His superpower can't be singing.
I would think his superpower would be super strength. He would be able to just punch people and destroy them.
Like emotional strength or like physical strength?
Physical
'Cause
strength.
There's
He'd
a
be
difference.
like One Punch Man. He'll be able to like just one blow knock your ass out.
I'm a
I feel
very
like Barry wouldn't
emotionally
be
weak
punching
person.
people.
I feel like Barry's always wanted to punch people. I feel
Yeah,
like
but
that
he's not. He's above that.
I feel like he's been holding it back
Oh,
for all
Babs.
these years, and now that he doesn't have any really major responsibilities, he can now start to knock people out with one punch.
I don't like that you made Barry violent.
No, I do. I think he wants to be violent, and I think it's okay to be violent because violence does actually solve answers.
Do we endorse violence here at We Are Live?
We do endorse violence here at We Are Live. If you have any opportunity to be violent,
Chris isn't gonna be happy about
I'm just saying. Okay, put it this way.
I agree with you.
You can't. You can only. All right. If you're going
I'm
to
on
be
your
violent,
side.
only be violent towards Nazis and clans, people in the Klan. How about that?
And like people that don't use their blinkers.
But you can only flick them. You can't punch those people. You can like flick them in the nose really hard. Like we can do violence in society, but we have to bring it down to varying degrees. Because we're naturally a violent society, but like if somebody like really like say you walk in on a girl and she's cheating on your boyfriend, like don't punch her or attack her. Like you get to like flick her lips for an hour. Like
What?
just flick her lips with your fingers and just flick it for her because that's gonna hurt after an hour.
No, thank
but it's not. I mean, it's not really assault, and she's just gonna have a swollen bottom lip, and that's just
battery.
gonna be annoying. But still, no one's really getting hurt from flicking your lip for an hour. And no one like so that's not that
Why are
violent.
we
but
lip flicking?
Because she was cheating on you.
She was cheating on your man. She was with your man. So
No,
instead of
she
like,
was with another man.
yeah, and like it ain't like you ain't gonna slap her or throw her down some steps because that's too far. But you're upset naturally. You want to do something physically to her, so just flick her bottom lip. Like flick your bottom lip right now. Just try to do it. It hurts.
I don't want to. It's gonna hurt.
Shit! I just did it. It hurts, but I can continue to do the radio show, to do the podcast. See, look, fuck, that hurts.
What would hurt worse than that?
Well, then that would be different. So if somebody talked about your mama, like instead of slapping the taste out of their mouth, which I would actually advocate.
Ooh, if you pinch the back of your arm, it's a bad one.
See, so what if you were to say, talk about my mama and my mama's presence, I get to pinch the back of your arm
I
for
think
half
that
an
hurts
hour.
worse than lip flicking.
But again, no one's gonna really cry. You're not gonna go to the emergency room.
Would
You're not gonna-
so would your superpower be flicking lips?
My superpower would be
Lip flicker.
whatever, like you know that pain you get when you bite the back of your lip or you stub your toe. I want to be able to inflict that on someone at any given at any given point in the
Hold
day.
on, you just said
Toe
bite
stubber.
the back of your.
Your tongue. And then like if you've ever chewed on something and you just got
like
two,
the side of it.
yeah, like the side of it, and you and that's an annoying pain that lingers for like 4 hours throughout the day. Like that, I think is worse than punching someone and knocking them out.
Or like putting a popcorn kernel in their like teeth
Oh
and
yes.
gums. That'd be dope.
See, now
man,
that's-
that would be such a hilarious because I would do that to just random people on the street. Oh, you look like, and just be like with a little. What you would flick You would flick that kernel onto their teeth into their gum.
And that would be, I think that would even be better than jail time, because in jail you can get 3 square meals, you can get prison muscles, but if a kid stole from like the local store, he's got to have a kernel in his mouth for the rest of the summer.
Man.
How annoying would that be to have a popcorn kernel stuck in your gums and teeth for 3 months? I can assure you're not stealing again. I can assure you're not stealing again.
We just revolutionized the prison system.
That's what I'm saying. So again, if your boyfriend, don't cut his wang off.
How much money
don't
that would
scratch
save
his car.
taxpayers too?
Tons. And then think about the popcorn industry. Think about the jobs we're now creating. So if your boyfriend cheats on you, don't scratch his car. Don't cut his yang off. Just just hope for a twisted ankle. Like challenge him to a game of basketball wearing Converse, and then he twists his ankle. Ever had a twisted ankle? That's annoying.
I've got one right now.
Yeah, that's annoying. So I bet you he ain't gonna cheat again because he's gonna think about how annoying it was to have a twisted ankle. That's annoying. It's inconvenient. It ruins your day. Have you ever pulled a groin?
Limp ass bitch.
I know. And you can say that when you say it. Look at that bitch
Groin or
ass.
hamstring, man, that's the worst.
Oh, that's hard. That doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't. Again, but it shuts down the private prison system industry, but it sends a message. Hey, motherfucker, when you do a crime, you pull a hamstring.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the taxpayer money again.
Save.
Like,
And then
Trump,
think about
give us a call.
Oh my God. And then now look how that saves the current healthcare industry, because once you get a hamstring, once you pull one, you're going to pull it again.
Yep.
You're going to pull it again. So therefore, you're going to have to go to
Chances
urgent
go
care.
up by 37.8%.
Boom. And he knows it because he's a white man. So they know math.
And I play softball.
Yep.
So.
Boom. So that's what I'm saying. So those are the ways I would go about in transforming the justice system. That's crazy that we can have We Are Live, and in Shock City Studios, I can completely change the world. And they say podcasts are useless. I just fucking save the world. Save the healthcare industry and the judicial system, all in one fucking, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah, I didn't follow the healthcare that much, but yeah, we changed the judicial system.
I made
like
it
that.
work. I made it work.
So your sidekick, Barack Obama.
Yeah.
and
One punch.
You'd flick popcorn kernels.
Flick popcorn kernels in people's mouths. That's so annoying. I had one
stub
time.
their toes.
You know what's annoying about kernels too is that like you can think you've gotten it out, but you ain't got it
I
out.
know.
You ain't got like one time I thought I had a popcorn kernel out of my mouth.
You have that same problem in the bedroom too, don't you?
What the hell is he talking about? What a gross
Think
man.
you got it out.
Oh, shut up. You're so gross.
We're
But
still talking about flicking stuff.
I'm telling you, like, and what happens if when you flick someone's nose or their lip, like their eyes suddenly begin to water. So it looks like they've been crying. But you didn't do anything that hard. Like, think about it. Like, flick
Yeah, like, oh,
somebody's lip.
baby, baby, bitch, you crying?
Like,
You
think of,
crying,
like-
you baby, baby, bitch.
Like if you were dating someone, they were like, look, I thought you were coming home at 2 a.m. It's 2:30. I'm not mad. We're not going to sit up here and argue for 2 hours, but I am going to take 5 minutes to flick your bottom lip.
I know something worse.
What's that?
Have their hands constantly covered in icy hot.
Oh, that would be annoying.
You can't even scratch your nuts
That would, and the thing about
or
that
your
is,
eyes
man,
or none of your orifices.
Yeah, if you just made like people who stole stuff from a store just dip their hands in icy hot before the day started.
I feel like and these measures aren't cruel. Like they're just a step below it.
It might be unusual, but not
Unusual,
cruel.
but not cruel. Again, like I said, like icy hot's gonna wear off in a few hours. Like your bottom lip's gonna sting for half a day.
Your morning's ruined. You know?
Absolutely.
And then by the time the afternoon is like, man, my day got away from me. You know how annoying that is sometimes?
Of course, people like, for example, like what I plan on doing when I become a parent, like I don't want to necessarily ground my kids, but I'm going to have them drink hot coffee, not scalding hot, but hot enough to burn their tongue, where their tongue is burning for at least 3 hours.
We took a step. Nope. I think we took
I don't think you can burn, but it's a tongue. It's not that bad.
I think
If you catch your kids selling drugs, burning
I-
their tongue's not that. And I'm not doing it on purpose. I'm talking like, here, son, have a cup of coffee. And he's like, oh, thanks, Dad. Ah, it's hot.
I mean, if he's selling drugs, like, well, it depends on the profit margins. But yes.
Oh, well, no. I like these ideas. These are pretty good.
Yeah, maybe we should have a new segment of like business ideas with We Are Live.
Papa
we
Tim, it's not
we Are
gonna
Live
like that.
Tank.
So original.
But Blackfish Tank.
Oh, well, now we're on to something.
Yeah, see?
Now we're on to something. I like the way it's going. I like the way this is going. Hey, we have another fun segment where we send a lovely, sweet, attractive woman into the wild. And by the wild, we send her around town to some of the lovely eateries. And then she comes back to us and lets us know how delicious they are. It's time for Thoughts of Food.
Hello, this is Food for Thoughts. Pizza.
Celery.
Biscuits.
Chicken.
Lobster.
Catfish.
Hush puppies.
Chocolate.
Travis, stop.
Carne asada.
Tacos.
Crab.
Are you
Curry.
kidding me?
Cereal.
Travis, shut the f*** up.
My bad.
It's my segment.
Hey, guys.
Hey,
It's time for food.
Hey, that's my move.
Oh, my bad. For thoughts. Hey, Carly.
Hey,
How goes it on this lovely Wednesday afternoon?
it's going good. And Food for Thoughts is the reason that I fucked up Whole30 for like 2 weeks in a row.
You did. Now, this is going to be interesting to see
No
you adjust.
self-control.
Yeah, I don't know how you're going to continue to do this with
I
Food for
know.
Thoughts as well. So that means you're going to have to find a way around it. How did you make it work this time?
Well, I said, I'll start it tomorrow
Okay.
for a couple days in a
diet
row.
starts tomorrow.
I was like, it's research for work, quote unquote work.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So I had a plausible excuse.
That makes a ton of sense.
But I made another trip to Peacemaker, like I typically do.
Now, what is Peacemaker again?
It's a local St. Louis establishment that's not a sponsor, but should be, and they have like lobster and stuff. It's a seafood
so
situation.
it's a seafood spot in the Lou.
it's
Okay.
quite-
And what
Have
did
you guys ever done the seafood trick?
What's that?
Where you stick.
You guys like seafood?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, seafood.
This is a rich boy that went to a private
You're
school.
How
rich boy.
mature?
It's very nice.
Rich boy.
Yeah, I wish.
Well, I got it to go from there, which
You got lobster to go?
it was
That's
a mistake to get food to go because
seafood to go doesn't seem like the best move.
what I got the lobster roll again, but I got the main style, which is cold with like a type of mayo. Damn. And I think I liked it better than the warm one, the Connecticut style.
So you got
Connecticut. I taught you how to spell that, remember?
You know, I already knew how to spell it.
Oh gosh, Christ, you two, knock it off. So you got lobster to go from Peacemaker.
It's very good. Lobster's great. I don't know if you guys have ever had lobster before.
Lobster's
It's
good.
pretty fucking good. I also got a Frito. It's called the lobster Frito pie to go, but that you're not supposed to get that to go.
So how did they even store that in a to-go?
It wasn't
Is
even Fritos. It was like these crispy, like fancy looking type of Fritos, but they weren't Fritos. They put those in a separate bag, and then they put the other stuff in a different. I didn't know how it was supposed to work, so I kind of
Sounds
just.
like a Fritos with like a PhD.
You were supposed to like kind of assemble it yourself. I didn't realize what it was, so I got to go back and order that like in person. So I was just kind of eating the shit out of the different things.
Isn't
It
that
was
great
still
when you get
good.
that kind of to go and you're kind of forced to like
Do you
like
DIY
assemble
it?
Yeah, I'm like what the hell? This ain't.
Yeah, that's
ain't
not what I
IKEA.
signed up for.
I ain't asked for that shit.
It was still lovely though. Also, I went to Broadway Oyster Bar, which is another seafoodish establishment.
If you're outside of St. Louis listening to this pod and you get an opportunity to visit this lovely area, Broadway Oyster Bar is the first stop one of the first 3 stops you should make. Drop off your luggage, check in at your hotel, immediately head to Broadway
To
Oyster Bar.
Broadway.
It's one of the best establishments. It's so delicious. What did you get at Broadway Oyster Bar? A former sponsor.
I
We Are
got-
Live, so we can at least say
Oh,
that.
they used to
They
be?
used to
Wow,
be.
they
Yes,
should probably
indeed.
do that again.
Yeah, they're a very popular establishment, and I think they quickly learned sponsorship not needed.
No, it really isn't. I got a lobster po' boy,
Oh my
garlic
god!
Big
parmesan,
lobster week for you.
garlic
Yeah, wow.
parmesan fries,
Oh my god!
and a side of jambalaya. Hey, have you guys seen Mrs. Doubtfire?
Oh, here she goes.
Hot jambalaya.
Of all the lines to remember from Mrs. Doubtfire,
It's the
of course
funniest
Carly remembers
line.
the
Yeah, the
food
food
line.
That's what I remember. I was thinking about it, and then I was like, "Hey, do you guys happen to have just like a side of jambalaya?" And they're like, "Yes." And I was like, "Haha." I was
you
craving
say-
it because I just watched Mrs. Doubtfire.
All right, so
You
we're gonna go
you
around.
should have asked it in the voice like Mrs. Doubtfire.
All right, we're gonna go around the table.
It was
Everyone
great,
do
though.
their favorite Mrs. Doubtfire quote. Gaines, go.
Ooh,
Hot jambalaya.
That was mine. I have more though.
Okay. Help is on the way, dear.
Help is on the way. Oh, the whole time.
Yes, the great Sally Field. Oh my dear, I'm so sorry. It was a drive-by fruiting.
Shook it off like a dog.
God, what a damn good. And then there was rumors they were going to remake that, and I'm so happy they shut that down. But go.
What?
We got another.
Oh,
we got
then he
another
does that. He's like, I do a really good impression of a hot dog.
See, I love the shitty remakes.
They can't remake
Wait,
this.
when were
know,
they trying to do that?
It was a brief mention before, unfortunately, Robin Williams passed away, that they were talking about either doing a sequel or rebooting Mrs. Doubtfire. But I think after his passing, people realized that
it's probably
was
good
one
to
of
just
his
leave it
best
alone.
to leave that one alone. And I think sometimes it's great to recreate some stories, but no one's gonna capture Mrs. Doubtfire as well as Robin Williams. He was the reason that movie worked. Like, I think if there was any other actor, I just don't see that working out too well. What else did you eat this week?
Well, that's what I got for places.
It sounds like you were basically Aquaman enjoying the lobster.
Calamari at
More
Broadway
seafood.
Spurs.
Okay.
Very good
Wait,
as well.
so did you make 2 trips?
And
or
the
this is all in
crawfish
one
mac
trip?
and cheese.
Holy!
Well,
please tell me this
I
was
ordered the first 2 things myself, and then other people had the calamari and the mac and cheese, and they were done. So then I ate the rest
Oh wow!
of theirs.
That's a lot.
Very good. I was not disappointed in anything. But what I do want to try from sushi, I think it was wasabi. I think that's what it's called. Let me make sure for certain.
You're asking what wasabi is?
No, it's Wasabi Sushi Bar in St. Louis.
Oh, nice.
They have they have the salmon tempura roll, which is deep fried salmon, cucumber, avocado, and topped with chili mayo.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, that's not Whole30.
Would you eat that off somebody?
I'll cheat Whole30.
Rihanna. I'd eat anything off Rihanna.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Would you eat food
Sames.
off a good-looking, like, very fit guy? Would you eat food off of him?
Yeah.
Okay.
They
I
have
mean,
those
where? What's
restaurants,
it
don't
touching?
they?
Yeah, I know, that's what
What's
I'm
it
saying.
touching?
We usually have leaves on.
Yeah,
like
they got the
body.
leaves
So
on
is
the
it
private
on
part.
top of the?
No,
is that, so it can be like on a belly button?
I think the leaves on the private area is like a garnish, so you don't touch it, you don't bother with it.
I
And
believe
they put
there's leaves like everywhere that there's food though.
Oh, is
in these
it?
places.
Do they just serve sushi at those places, or can you like get like ribs or something?
I don't think you want
Ribs
to
would be
have
great.
ribs.
Like ribs
Just
on
like-
someone's body.
I don't
Just
think
like
that's-
squirt some
I'll take the sloppy
barbecue
Joe.
sauce
Oh, I just don't.
in the navel.
I don't.
To dip your fries in?
Now you're ruining barbecue.
I'll take
for me.
the tapioca pudding, please.
No, I don't know what is
Put
wrong with
a
you
little
all.
ketchup in Rihanna's butt dimples.
See, now I enjoy ribs. I enjoy Rihanna, but now I just thought about blending those two together, and I don't want any part of it.
A little honey mustard in the cellulite.
A little mousse.
You know what? I just thought about how
Little
sexy
moose.
Rihanna is. I ain't gonna lie. You're right. I may have to just.
Can
make
we
it
eat
work.
moose?
Some
Do we eat
whipped-
moose?
Is moose like the like moose like the like
Moose
the pudding
flavored
moose?
moose.
Or are you talking like actual moose?
Moose, like meese.
I don't think. You
Do
know
people
what?
eat meese?
I don't think people eat meeses.
Mousse flavored mousse.
Mooses.
You
People
know
eat
what I
mouses?
was thinking the
Moses?
other day?
What's that?
It sucks that all the farm animals get eaten except for horses.
So they just get to watch their friends die, like go off to be
That's
eaten.
like why the hell why don't horses have to be eaten? Why do we eat all the other ones?
Because they're the bond that holds it all together. Do I even?
Oh, because they're made of glue. Is that because they're made of
Yeah!
glue? That was a glue joke.
Boo! Let's see Ian Bag come up with that one, motherfuckers.
Oh my gosh, that
I
was
know.
great.
That was pretty good. Look at Gaines. Gaines is like, I'm so pissed.
They
off.
don't
Why
even
did I
milk
come up with
anything
that one?
though.
Oh, they're like horses are pretty useless.
Well, it's
Especially
probably
like 27
recreational.
it probably goes back to they were used for so many other resources.
Like
back in the
what?
day.
They don't do shit. All they do is carry shit.
That's how people got around back. Like
Oh, I
and
guess
people
I didn't have.
people plowed
They
the
didn't-
fields with
They didn't Fred
horses.
Flintstone their asses everywhere.
No,
They
unfortunately.
need to grow up,
did
stop
not.
relying on
Horses
nature.
were a thing.
So it's like, hey, we can't kill these because we use them. So kill them to eat because we use them.
That's
So
Why
what
did
much.
they just use
sense.
cows? Because then they just got everything. They got like a 3-in-1. They got the milk, they got the meat, they got the ride.
I think
It's
horses
like
were a little.
it's like getting into an Uber where the guy has bottles of water and pieces of gum ready for you. It's like the Uber of the 20s.
Yeah.
of the 20s.
I just want to be the guy that was there.
1820s.
Yeah.
Because there was someone, though, when they arrived in America and cows were a thing, like someone was like, oh, shit. Hey, man, I just put this damn cow over a fire. This shit is great. Like, dog, like you, like, oh, and it's so much left over. Oh my God, look, taste this shit. Like cows. Are you kidding me? We need more of these things. This is so good. There was who is that guy? I want to find out who that. Do a movie on him. There's a guy who was just like, hey man.
It is funny because there's a lot of like ugly animals that we eat, and like somebody at some point in time had to get past like, God, they just like they look terrible, but I bet their meat tastes good. You know what I mean?
Right, because there at some point someone was like, cows. Yeah. Let's see what else they can do besides milk. Let's see what else they got.
Look at this pig slopping around in the mud. I bet its ribs taste really great.
Yeah.
Now that's a good point. Now
one.
who was the because when you see a pig, you don't want
like,
no parts of a pig.
Terrible.
You're in filth. You grow. But there was some motherfucker one day was like,
well,
hey
let's
man,
eat it.
hey, I know y'all was talking shit about that little thing over there, but I bit off one of his legs.
Birds don't look appetizing. Like turkeys don't, because it's like, oh, let's go eat that bird with the ball sack hanging from its face.
What about chickens?
I don't
You
wanna
see
eat
chickens.
that.
You look at sick chickens like, man, you little dumbass bird. You can't even fly.
Yeah.
Why the fuck
Like
are
how
you
much
here?
meat is actually on
Yeah, you look at a
chicken?
chicken. Like, why would you ever look at a chicken and be like, I'm going to get so much out of that? No,
Boom.
hell no.
No one. So that's the thing. So there was a sadistic
Fried
fuck
chicken.
that was
Why
on
isn't
a
there
farm one day.
fried horses.
That was just like, this fucking grass ain't working. I need something else to go along with this shit. Hey, chick. Like the funny thing is, I think the reason why we don't get origin stories because you're probably drunk or on some narcotic when you come to the conclusion that you can eat things.
Do horses make milk?
I'm sure someone tried.
How do they feed their kin?
They got tits, right?
Like, do horses?
I got tits,
Sam,
fucker. Could you milk
Google
me?
it. Do horses make milk?
I don't know if they do. But that's the thing. But again, look, when you think about how a lot of these discoveries have come about, I'm almost certain narcotics or drugs were involved. Because you're not going to naturally go, like even scientists
Not everyone does
know.
drugs to do everything, Travis.
I feel like that's the only way we've gotten this far in life. Like I find it fascinating how much we hate drugs in
Horses produce
society.
milk.
So they do produce milk. But have you had?
Why are we eating it?
Why are we
all
drinking
this
horse
milk.
milk?
We can drink horse milk. To some people, it is no stranger than goat's milk, cow's milk, or sheep milk.
Really?
In certain countries, it is considered quite normal, particularly nomadic horse-centric cultures like Turks, Kazakhs, and Mongolians.
So, considering how we process everything, we could technically be drinking horse milk, and we
Why
wouldn't know
don't
the
humans
difference.
drink each other's milk?
That's also another good question.
Yeah, because
But
aren't we
when
the
we're
only animal
babies-
that doesn't?
Well, we can
like,
do it now. What you
drink
you,
our
you
own
can
milk normally?
You can there is actually when I was working for the state of Missouri, there's a large lobbying firm that really wanted people to start basically turn breast milk into an industry, and so there would be this lobbying group that would come around to the Capitol in Jefferson City in Missouri, and they would give you these really nice treats all made from breast milk.
What?
And you ate them.
I think they would give you cookies, and you can, like I said,
And
it's
you
milk.
dunk it in breast milk.
And here's the thing.
You
So
dunked chocolate
Who's
chip
making
cookies
it, though?
in breast
That's
milk.
could get very
these,
tiring.
so the
for-
essentially it would be like the Amish women of Missouri and these stay-at-home moms, and they would bake with these. And here's the fun thing about that, because that was new to the Capitol, and so. Because Missouri's lovely, terrible lobbying laws, you get virtually everything for free: dinners, alcohol,
Breast milk.
USA. So I would get these really cool free gift food packages. And when you're working for the state, it ain't like you're making a ton of money. So you like, hell yeah, I'll take some of that. And so because I was a new guy there, people were like, oh, Travis, you're going to love today. You're going to get a bunch of free cookies and brownies and stuff. I'm like, oh, awesome. And so they would come around to the offices and they would have these big gift baskets. And I'd be like, oh, I'm about to tear this up. This is so awesome. But I noticed when they dropped them off in everybody else's offices, no one was eating them. And I was like, yeah, fucked up, man. I'm about to tear this shit up. And then fortunately, there was one of my kind coworkers who said, oh, I see you got the breast milk cookies.
I hate that person. Why did
And they were all pissed at her. And I was
Yeah.
I would just be like, oh, this look good. And it looked good.
I would try it.
I did try it. I at least tried
it good?
It was flavorless. It didn't have enough. Again, but
I mean, hey,
but
we
I
got
said,
to the top of the food chain for a reason.
This is
Let's
also
use
true.
it.
But
That's-
I'm also
that's my
saying
theory on life.
But I think though, considering how everything is so processed, we could be actually drinking horse milk or goat milk, and we would not know that it's actually coming from milk.
Yeah, but they're like, I guess, but there are pretty strict laws on stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. Seriously, who thought, I'm going to pull on this cow's nipples and suck the juice out of it?
And thought it was good enough for you to
this
drink.
This is the drugs.
I mean,
these are the drugs.
At a certain time in history, we actually had like
people did some weird shit, man.
Like
we did some
were
weird
we, though?
shit to figure
was
out.
it like,
so.
hey, that calf is drinking from the titty. I want to drink some of that from the titty too.
Yeah, I think
that's
we
mostly
were
how
smart.
But I think that's how we come to the conclusion on some of our greatest discoveries in history.
Drugs.
16.4 million Americans think chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
I saw that, idiots.
16.4
Fucking fools.
million.
Can you blame them? Like, be honest,
Yes.
probably 16 million kids. They're probably children.
People will believe anything.
I don't think children
Next,
fill
people
out
are
the
going to think
survey.
we actually landed on the moon. It's insane.
True.
It's made
No,
of
we've landed on the moon,
Oh, here we go.
but originally, the original one, we didn't.
Nah, I
Like that
knew it.
fake ass picture.
Oh my God.
But we have.
Well, people,
but we didn't
people
land
also
on
think,
it then.
People also think the moon is like not an alien spaceship for them to watch
All
us
right.
too.
And that completes today's food.
Oh, it's my turn.
There you go.
Food. For thought.
Just got
That
herself
was
in
the
the
best
face.
one without
That was pretty
Dad
good.
here.
Yeah, he would have yelled at you by this time.
yeah.
Thank you, Carly, for
you're
your
welcome.
food for thought. I think ultimately we need to delve into the origin story of some of the things we take for granted or we really enjoy today. Because again, I don't like we make everything from cows. Like we got leather, we get food, we get milk. Like we get everything from cows, and there had to have been a group of people or some individual that was like, "Hey, man, these motherfuckers. Hey, I'm gonna call this steaks. It's good."
Who named them cows? You think? Why? What's that?
That's a good one too. I don't know.
Maybe it's like it stands for something. Like
It probably does. Cowabunga. That's probably what they stand for. Like,
'cause that's
oh
what they
man,
said.
cowabunga! You can get so much from these animals. Oh, let's call them cowabungas. And then probably a smart ass white kid that came along was like, or cows. It was probably a white girl from the valley because they like to shorten everything. Cows instead of cowabungas. That's probably where they get it from. That makes sense. Thank you, Carls. Great job.
Oh, you're welcome.
It is time. We're going to shift gears. We're going to kind of shift the mood as well because we're going to jump into a special edition of Mic Check.
mic check.
Mic Check.
Mic check.
Mic Check, where Mike checks the news.
We usually like to keep it light, fun stories on Mic Check, usually 3 stories at a time, but sometimes things happen in our world that prompt us to talk about different stuff, and yesterday was definitely one of those days with the dash cam video of Philando Castile's shooting. To me, there was a lot of weird feelings that arose from me. For people who don't know, Philando Castile was shot 7 times by a police officer, had a license to carry a weapon.
This was during a pullover stop in
Yes.
Minnesota?
In Minnesota for a taillight being out. And Mr. Castile with his wife and his daughter in the back seat, or girlfriend, I guess.
I
It
think
was not a wife,
this time,
girlfriend
yeah.
at the time. And during the stop, the police officer came to the window in the dash cam video, notified that he was being pulled over for a broken taillight, asked for license and registration. Mr. Castile then told the police officer that he is licensed to carry and had his weapon on him as he was pulling for his license and registration. The officer claims that he saw him pulling for his gun and said, "Stop doing it," and began to shoot 7 times into the car. The girlfriend then went on Facebook Live, and I'm sure a lot of people remember seeing this video on Facebook Live of her saying they shot her boyfriend. Oh my God, they murdered her boyfriend. Shot him 7 times when he was not doing anything, licensed to carry, pulling for his license registration in the car. And the reason I say Philando Castile was eventually, after a long period of time of being held at gunpoint, pulled out of the car by 2 different officers than the one that shot him and given CPR, but ended up not making it after he was shot. The reason I say it spurs a lot of emotions for me is, I think it's weird as a society what the breaking point becomes. And to me, I think there are numerous examples, numerous videos over the past few years where you should have been as outraged as you were about this video that you saw yesterday. Alton Sterling in Louisiana, Eric Garner in New York, the story of Tamir Rice in Cleveland with a little kid with a toy gun, Michael Brown here in St. Louis. So it's almost like tiresome to me with like, why are we still not giving credence to what many people of color have told us? And this is coming from a white person's perspective. Right. Why are there people out there still holding on to something? And I understand it comes from some sort of, for some people, not understanding, for other people, hatred, and for some people, just ignorance in general. But for me, it comes, it's almost about the gun debate when Sandy Hook happens. Like, all right, it happened to kids now. Now what are we going to do? All right, now this video is out. Literally, where are we going to go from here? Right. And I'm just interested to hear, Travis, obviously your perspective on it and others as well.
As far as this particular case, and I'm going to start here and then we can branch out from there. But in regards to Philando Castile, I've had a conversation, and we have many listeners of both St. Louis Live and We Are Live that are who work in law enforcement, who work in police offices in the area or across the state. And so we've had some very good conversations about certain issues and things like this in the past. And the conversation I had recently in regards to Philando Castile, one of the officers illustrated to me about the public being aware of what to do and what not to do during these types of stops. And so when you see what you saw in the Philando Castile stop through the dash cam is he followed what many police officers would say what a person who is pulled over is supposed to do in that situation. Now, he isn't required by law to say, I have a concealed weapon, but he felt that, look, I know what time it is. I understand that as a law-abiding citizen and having a conceal and carry weapon, that it would probably ease the mind of this officer in the situation if I illustrate to him that I do have a conceal and carry. So he essentially did what many officers would consider what is needed to be done during that type of stop. I know a lot of people who have conceal and carry and a lot of people who carry their guns on them in their vehicle who do not do what Philando Castile does in a stop by the police. I've been in cars with people who've had guns in their vehicle, right, and legally so, who do not let the law know that they have a gun. And they end up going about their day. I've been in the car. I'm here today talking to you. We've survived those stops. So in many cases, in this case, Philando Castile kind of almost went above the normal standard during a normal stop by a police officer. What you see in the dash cam is that after Philando Castile calmly explains that he has a concealed carry, he doesn't say, yo, dog, I got a weapon. I got a 9. I got a gat. He doesn't know. He simply says, officer, I have a license for a concealed carry. I have a weapon in my vehicle. So he calmly illustrates he doesn't panic. He isn't fidgety. So everything you hear from police officers on what you need to do during these type of stops, Philando Castile did. And somehow the officer still felt, while he had his girlfriend and child in the car and explaining that he had a weapon, felt that his life was in danger. That's where the issue is right there. Why, after he did what he was supposed to do beyond the measure of the law, while he's in the presence of a child and his girlfriend, would he still be deemed a threat? And there are a lot of people on the law enforcement side who will argue, well, in that split second and then things happening, that's where then we need to discuss what responsibility does law enforcement then have after that. I feel in this particular case, Philando Castile, as a law-abiding citizen, did everything he was supposed to do in that stop. And I think the reason why I think it's starting to finally resonate with everyone, where it's almost, for a lot of people in this country, especially African Americans, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's, well, you can't have marijuana in your system if you get shot. In fact, Philando did have marijuana in the system, and how now that's trying to become the narrative because that is justification for being shot 7 times while inside your car. So it's a situation where we've been, when I say we, people who have had interactions, who are of color, who've had interaction with the law, have illustrated, hey, we're not sitting up here simply just saying they're picking on us, but there are instances where the law has overstepped its bound. They have overstepped that standard. And we believe that one of the reasons for that is because there's this narrative, there's this idea of what African Americans are in this country. For him to immediately become afraid after a black man illustrated he had a gun, that's a story that needs to be addressed. And I think the thing that's also troubling is that he was a conceal and carry individual, and the NRA essentially has decided to sit this one out.
Yeah, and it's not surprising at all.
It's not surprising at all. And I remember when it happened.
Literally, they are the devil incarnate.
And that's the thing that, like, and that's why I think it's starting again for everyone to come full circle, because there are a lot of people who are in the NRA who are also like, there are people I've seen some really good stories from folks who are inside the NRA who have gone, we should have this guy's back. We should have been at this trial. We should have released a stronger statement. And the NRA is more than happy to release their strong statements when they need to. Mm-hmm. They aren't well, we're going to wait and see and we're going to calmly. They are you're coming after our guns? Oh, statement 20 seconds later. So for the NRA to be noticeably quiet, for other people inside the NRA to also, I think people are starting to get this picture now. I think you're starting to put some of the pieces together. I think people are seeing these videos and are rightfully so starting to ask the question, all right. I've had some fairly laid back conversations with police officers, and they've never felt like their lives were threatened. So why is it when this individual does something that even the most law-abiding citizen normally doesn't do, and he's still shot 7 times? How did a jury arrive to say that he wasn't liable for something? So it was fascinating. Chris Long, former St. Louis Ram, a former New England Patron and now Philadelphia Eagle, a very outspoken guy through the media, very media savvy, very funny, very charismatic on Twitter, and a white guy from, is he the Longs from Virginia?
He lives in Virginia now. I don't know where he grew up.
Okay, I'm not sure where, but I'm not sure where the Long family grew up. But
probably a lot of places, honestly.
Sure, absolutely, and. For a guy like Chris Long, and I've said this before when it comes to issues like this, Chris Long's a smart guy. He understands. He knows what time it is. For a white male in the NFL, a very successful, coming from a very famous football family, for him to go on social media yesterday and go, "This is insane." To see media members who are also white, who are objective, they're not MSNBC or Fox News, people who just cover the news down the middle, go, oh, this is unbelievable. Like, to hear that should give you a strong sense of what the community, black community, has gone through for a long. Like, that's this type of shock and awe that folks got yesterday to the Philando Castile. I can assure you, if you were to look at Tamir Rice tape, you should be just as upset. If you see the Eric Garner tape, you should have been just as upset. Like, there are things, and I think what happens in these conversations, and the reason why it's taking maybe people gains, and you can tell me, and again, anybody else, please chime in. The conversation somehow gets shifted to anti-police, and I know how it happens. There are a handful of people in that crowd who will say, fuck the police, fuck you pigs, fuck you bitches, I want to shoot a cop. Somehow that then becomes the narrative. I acknowledge that there have been people who may have protested here locally or abroad who have probably uttered those things. But you, as an intelligent individual, know damn well what the conversation is truly about. The conversation is about to what extent of the law, to what extent should police officers go when it comes to police stops or determining whether or not someone is a threat. And that's a fair conversation to have. I think the reason why I think people are often afraid that by saying that that's a bad shoot, that now you're anti-police, and that's not the case.
And like you mentioned, people turning the narrative to people saying "fuck the police" or "pigs" or whatever. We're going to burn this down, something like that. Here's what I would say to that. You know, if a person's saying to, let's say, a lot of non-people of color, a lot of white people saying, "Listen, my experience is so much different than yours when it comes to police, when it comes to a lot of everyday situations in America," and then they're not believed by those people, guess what they're going to do? They're going to start screaming louder. They're going to start screaming different things. And you know what? I don't blame them. So yes, maybe that's not the best route. But if Colin Kaepernick kneels before the national anthem and you're still like, man, nope, he's not doing anything. He's a rich athlete. Then he wears the pig socks and then he compares police to slave police. Like that's what somebody who's not being listened to is going to do. They're going to keep screaming louder and be more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, more like shouting different things so that you do take notice and that you do listen. So I don't know if I necessarily blame people. And then just with this specific case of Philando Castile, I think there's a simple question that people need to ask themselves is what made that cop afraid?
That's
because
the question.
Cops see guns every single day.
Absolutely, and it's a very difficult job, and there are a lot of situations where there are split instincts. But the question is, in this particular stop, what illustrated to this individual, to this cop, that a guy, considering what he knows, and a police officer has to assess the situation fairly quickly. Again, he pulls a guy over for
let's be honest, like there was a good minute that he was talking to this car
and
before,
yeah,
and so we see videos on the internet every day of a lot of white people with automatic weapons strapped around their chests, walking into airports. Walking to highly crowded areas. And we also see cops calmly walking up to those people and discussing what's going on with them. What made this cop afraid seeing a gun with this person? And I don't know how you cannot come to the conclusion. I don't know how you can come to the conclusion that this cop was afraid because this man was black. I honestly don't. I don't know how you can.
Especially with there being two other people in the car as well.
So that's with a child in the back. My thing is, again, and I'm not a police officer. I know there may be someone on the other end thinking, well, you're not a cop, you're not in that situation. But I'm trying to understand, trying to put ourselves in the position of that police officer. And how do you go from having a calm conversation? Again, there was nothing erratic about Castile's behavior. He completely complied and pulled over. He literally told you that he had a gun. And he has his girlfriend in his car and a child in the back seat. Sure, there may be a circumstance in a situation where that situation can flip on its head in 180, but how did it go from 0 to 100 that quickly based on that information of knowing that an individual is doing what you would ask of him in that situation, and then suddenly you become afraid when he mentions that he has a legally carrying firearm? And the question is, and the thing that is for the blacks in America, the question is, did that switch flip because of the idea of knowing that a black man had a gun? And that's why I think the NRA is running away from this, because they are okay with having guns as long as that brown or black person doesn't have one. And you can say what you will, but the silence of the NRA speaks volumes. And the fact that this man, within his Second Amendment constitutional right, had a gun legally within the state of Minnesota, and the NRA is quiet about it, leads me to believe that it does come down to black and brown. And if you have a different argument, if you say, say otherwise, then please speak up. But no one else is saying a word. So to Gaines's point, you're right. That's how folks come to said conclusions. It isn't as if everyone rolls out of bed and completely points at a cop and says they're racist. But if you consistently, let's bring it home to Ferguson, where you're consistently, there was a man who was pulled over in 1 year up to 35 times in his neighborhood. 35 times. And each time he was pulled over, he was given a ticket twice.
I mean, the Department of Justice said that Ferguson was taking advantage of their citizens.
And so when you have that happen, imagine literally getting pulled over that many times a year and then having to be late for work and having the humiliation of being pulled over in public as cars drive by frequently. And then you having to tell your boss, sorry, I was late. I was pulled over again. Imagine that embarrassment. Imagine that humiliation. And then imagine that happening for an entire year. Now imagine it happening to an entire community. Imagine that happening for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then people turn around and say, well, the Mike Brown was a overreaction. Mike Brown was the powder keg, man. That is a powder keg to a system that has been taking place in an area like St. Louis, an area like Baltimore, an area like Detroit, an area like Atlanta, an area like Dallas, all over America. Your experiences are different than blacks when it comes to their interaction with police officers. And the thing that I think will take us a long way to addressing some of these issues is what Gaines pointed out at the beginning of this conversation. Listen. And you got to listen, man. And these people, look, I'm not saying there aren't people out there who are too quick to pull the race card. We're not discussing that. I'm saying in this particular instance, there are very intelligent, very affluent, very even non-intelligent, unemployed. If a person that works at Harvard to a person that's unemployed trying to find 4 or 5 jobs in the city of St. Louis are saying the same thing, there has to be a common denominator, man. If LeBron James has to go through it and poor old Travis has to go through it, there's a theme going on here, man.
And just please, like, don't be simple. Like, I thought that was such a problem with the Mike Brown situation is people being so simple-minded. Like, that was a tragedy what happened to Michael Brown. That was not about Michael Brown.
That wasn't just
That was not about Michael Brown. That was about systematic racism.
Yes.
That was about years and years of a struggle of a community all across the nation. Like, and people just wanted to sit up here and make it exactly about Michael Brown when it wasn't just about him. Like, and it's just, if you can't get past that when you're discussing this with people, then you got no chance.
You got no chance. You're right. And you're exactly right to that point. And when you look at it, I keep bringing this up, and I made this argument when I was discussing the most recent settlement of the Mike Brown family for $3 million here in the city of St. Louis. The story hit the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and it hit national media. So you would naturally expect everyone to jump on it. But the constant thing that I come back to is human decency. That's the words that I've consistently used in regards to this, no matter where you think you may fall in regards to the Mike Brown situation. You have to understand that this young man was shot between 8 to 11 times, and then his body was sitting in the middle of the street for well over 4 hours in the middle of a St. Louis sun. Now, I would imagine under any circumstances, and again, there are forensic specialists and the CSI folks who have commentary to say in regards to why the body was out there. But again, when you're talking about history and context, human decency, it felt at that time for that community that had been disrespected for so long that a young boy's body was just sitting in the middle of the street dead. And it's just the idea of it. I don't know any other community that would have non-black citizens where a body of a teenage boy sitting in the street for hours. And so when it comes back to it, it's an idea of human decency. And I think we can start there. You don't know Mike Brown. You didn't know the story. You don't know his mother. You don't know his grandmother. You don't know the family. So take into account that this was a mother, whether she was involved in his life or not. That is a mother who lost her son. Have the decency to at least recognize that. Stop sitting up here and making yourself feel better about yourself by calling him a thug and saying he's not a victim and they don't deserve the money. What does that do for you? What does that do for the conversation? What does that do in regards to moving us forward to making sure that all of our children are protected? And what does that do to the conversation? Again, like Gaines said, I think when it comes down to it, I think people have to realize you need to listen. And again, this isn't just the kid that's selling his mixtape on Metrolink screaming about the police. These are also people in every walk of life, from the president of the United States to the most wealthiest and most powerful athlete on the planet. There's a constant story. There's a narrative that exists. Are you telling me that we all got together one afternoon and decided to come up with this narrative about the police? And it's not just bad eggs.
That's the thing that gets me, man.
It kills me every time.
Why can't you, like, they're screaming out to let you know how they feel, and we don't believe them. Why do we not believe them?
Not only that, Gaines, we hear this conversation often when we say bad eggs. I'll point to you to the LAPD between the 1960s and the early 2000s. Look at some of the cases and the history of corruption that took place inside that department. Look most recently at the Oakland Police Department and how police chiefs and captains and lieutenants up and down over the last 25 years and the history of corruption and prostitution that they ran out of the Oakland Police Department for years. Look at the NYPD and their collusion with mafiosos over the years in America. Like, we keep hearing people say, what about these bad eggs? There's a culture that exists. There's a culture that exists in Chicago, a culture that exists in Oakland. Are you telling me those are just bad eggs? Like, there's culture that exists in major police departments throughout the country. Sure, there are a handful of people, but it exists. There's an existence of a culture at the LAPD. The favorite lines from Rush Hour is Chris Tucker, who of course is the detective in the LAPD. He says, I don't even tell my mother I'm in the LAPD. I tell her I'm a drug dealer. But it's funny, and we laugh at it, and it is, but it's the truth. These things aren't just in a bubble. And I think people think it's just an incident in St. Louis. It's just a small incident in Baltimore. Isn't it odd? Like, two cities that are completely different in many respects, if you've ever been to it. St. Louis and Baltimore. And when you have similar situations, like it was known in Baltimore, where it was known for officers not to handcuff, to literally have criminals in their paddy wagon bouncing around. Like, it was understood. Like, David Simon, who of course created The Wire, who did his story on what took place in Baltimore, literally like, oh no, we were right about that's a Baltimore ride-along. It's called a Baltimore ride. It had a name. So, you know what I'm saying? So to say, it's a few bad cops, this ride-along was so popular. And it's not only that, people say, it's just some blacks, they say it now and then. Like black people, they're really making it big. You know how folks in North County, St. Louis, literally, there was not a march or a protest when they knew police officers were pulling them over just because. Not one. So to sit up here and say, oh, you guys are just running and jumping on something. For decades, people understood that when you went out to North County, St. Louis, hey, man, you go 2 miles over, that's a wrap. Hey, man, you get a ticket, dog. Ain't no doubt about that. You drive through Delwood, you drive through North County, you drive through Florissant, Ferguson. If your blinker isn't on as soon as you cross over to the next lane, you're getting a ticket, bro. It's going to happen. And everyone who drives through North County understood that. So it's always been a way of life. So it isn't everybody just running out and just, oh, here they go. Something happens. They're always complaining. A lot of people who literally just bite their lip and just move on about life. So when you say, well, people should just move on and not let it affect them, African Americans in this country have been doing that for a very long time.
Yeah. And just to another point, like you mentioned Chris Long's Twitter, this was my favorite tweet of his yesterday. If you revere the police and appreciate the job they do, why not hold them to a standard that warrants that reverence? And like that's put so perfectly, I think.
Right.
Just because that's another huge complaint of people. I think it's like, hey, in any other type of business, when people do their job in a shitty way, they're called out for it.
Right.
And we don't see that happen with police officers to police officers. And then it's like looking at that dash cam video, that guy was a shitty fucking cop. Like, that guy was terrible at his job.
He was not good at his job.
No, he was freaking, I don't know how you could look at that video and not think that, and yes, shooting a person is probably a very traumatic experience, but when he's just screaming fuck the whole time and he's trying to already rationalize what he did in his head while that video's going on. Like, I don't know how you could watch that video and be like, this guy knew he did something wrong
There you go.
right away. Man, and I don't know how somebody, like, we don't hear a union come out and be like, hey, this guy's gone. We're taking his privileges away. Boom. That is not what we're about. That is not how you're taught to act in our academies, blah, blah, blah. Gone. I mean, when athletes act a certain way, other athletes speak out. We're in the radio game. If we hear a dumb radio guy say something stupid, we usually put it on our rundown and talk about it and talk about how dumb they are for saying it. So I don't know why we can't get people in one profession
and I think that's what, and you're exactly right. I think when it comes down to, and it's people then like to reshift the argument, and they talk about, my favorite comment, of course, something that I think since we've been doing this for close to 2 years, my favorite thing to hear during this entire situation is black on black crime, as if folks who live in the city or who live in predominantly black communities really crave crime. Like oh man, the only crime that happens in our city is when the police do it. People are outspoken about crime. People who live
or the breakdown of the family.
A breakdown.
You like that one too?
Where was father? Where was the father?
Probably in jail because he had a bag of weed on him or something like that. And our country can make a bunch of money off putting people of color in jail for really dumb crimes.
You want to get a lawyer? You got the money for a lawyer? You got the resources for that? Nah, you don't. 5 to 7. Enjoy that, my friend. We'll see you here in 2019.
Like, think about the roots of that. Do you think black people are born like evil? Is that what you think? Because that's the argument you have to make to me to say that, like, what? And I'm sure people do think that.
Oh, I'm sure they do. and I think that's where the frustration lies, is that there are people, and right now there are absolutely a ton of senseless gun deaths that not only take place here in St. Louis, but throughout the country. When you don't understand the hurt that really goes on in these communities. There are mothers, there are neighbors who are fathers who are truly concerned about drugs. They're truly concerned about schools. They're truly so the thing that when I hear folks talk about black on black, there are things that take place in our communities that people truly are concerned about, and they want honest, fair policing. They're not saying, you don't hear Black Lives Matter running out, we want better special treatment. They're not yelling that. They're saying they want accountability. They're saying that there should not be a slow foot system that doesn't want to hold the bad ones or a bad system accountable. And if you continue to hide behind the blue stripe and simply say, hey man, y'all just don't understand, that's not going to fly. That's going to continue to build up animosity in the community and make it very difficult. One thing, though, I will say, and I'll acknowledge many of the police officers who are willing to speak up, they will say we need to speak up more about these type of shootings because it does make it very difficult to make inroads within the community when it comes to when there's a robbery or there's a murder or there's a car theft, because we haven't built up that trust. And I think in this particular case with Philando Castile, if we bring it full circle, with Philando Castile, is that he built up the trust. Philando Castile was pulled over in that year alone close to 20 times. And his mother said, hey, you really should take this to the department. You should complain about this. They keep pulling you over. Philando Castile told his mom, they're just out doing their job. They're not, you know what, Mom, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not going to go to the department and complain about this. They're just doing it. So there are people in the community, especially people of color, who are more than willing to give their trust to a system that has always been distrustful of them. So even when they're like, hey, man, yeah, that happened there, but I believe that good officers of good faith are going to come out. So when the community gives you their trust, it's important that these police officers and these law enforcement officials also reciprocate. So I understand that's a two-way street, but when you see something like what everyone saw yesterday with the dash cam Philando Castile, we have to, and it's okay. Hey, we got to throw cold water on ourselves at some point. Nobody wants to think that the police officers are bad. No one wakes up hoping that police officers are bad. Nobody wants bad police officers. Nobody wants that dickhead on the force. Nobody wants a guy that's what I'm saying? Like, no one wants cops to be assholes. Like, we want fair, I feel like that is something that everyone would want to strive for. So when there's a debate, I think we can all come to an understanding that, hey man, This cop wasn't right. And we need to make sure going forward that these guys are properly vetted so they're not putting anyone else's life at risk.
Yeah, well put.
That is our mic check.
That was mic check.
We will have our good friend Christopher Denman, also known as the Wolf. Oh,
Meow.
That's a cat.
Oh.
He'll be joining us again later this week when we record live again from Shock City Studios.
And John Witherspoon.
John Witherspoon. Is it official?
It is official.
Official. We can speak on it now. John Witherspoon, Friday, and the Wayans brothers will be joining us here at Shock City. That's exciting. He is a comedic legend. This guy, and he's got to be in his late 70s. John Witherspoon's been doing comedy since my mother was in high school. He's been doing comedy for a long time. He loves getting out on the road, so I'm very excited to have him here.
75.
75 years old. John Witherspoon still on the roads, and he's going to be at Helium here in St. Louis. He's going to join us here at Shock City this week. I'm very excited to talk to him. He's a cultural icon. He really is a comedic cultural icon. And if you're not familiar with John Witherspoon, then you're really not trying. But please,
You might not be familiar with the name, but just Google him. And
just Google him. You'll know him
see.
immediately. And he's a great comic. So we're happy to be able to have him. Also, there's a special event coming your way. We'll have details coming your way here soon. But July 1st, if you're in the St. Louis area at Southtown Pub, actually, they're brand new space. So we're going to kind of throw a pre-4th of July party where I believe at this said event, the beard that you've come to know and love will unfortunately disappear.
Mm-hmm. Or before. But there might be some details on that later.
Gaines and Chris, we're in a group chat where they're discussing the details, and it's fun. It's like watching the warden decide your fate as you get ready to walk to the chair. You're like, hey, guys, I'm right here. You don't have to discuss it while I'm here. You can get your own little group chat started.
Because what's better than Travis losing a bet? Getting paid for Travis losing a bet.
I told them, Carly, like if I'm going to shave if I'm shaving my beard off, I should get some money for that because of all the sex toys I'm going to have to buy because I'm going to be so single for the next 6 months.
My.
Yeah. So I may be buying some pocket vaginas with the money that I get
More than
from
one?
this. Probably multiples. I don't know how those things work. I would imagine that you can reuse them and put them in a dishwashing machine and use it again. I don't know.
Are you trying to use more than one at one time?
You know what's funny?
It's possible.
People probably put fleshlights in the dishwasher.
I'm not. There's no doubt in my mind that the majority of people who own those things put them in the dishwasher. Are you kidding me?
I think they have dishes in there too.
You think they take the dishes out? You think they take the dishes out?
Yeah, it's all clean at the end.
It's
all clean at the end.
It's like washing a shower. It already cleans it. It's like self-cleansing kind of.
They got the websites for 25 years, men just completely having their way and leaving it in the VCR for their significant other or kids to stumble upon.
Yeah.
So we would absolutely go, it's just a couple plates. Plink.
On that note.
And on that note, that concludes today's special We Are Live. Thank you all for listening. Check us out on iTunes. Share with your friends. And hey, come back and tell people about us. For my partner, Chris Denman, I'm Travis Sorrell, Michael Gaines, Carly Lawrence, Sam on the ones and twos from Shock City Studios. We'll catch you guys next time. You're now tuned in to the Free Play Media Podcast Network.